Hi, welcome to H&L Agro's Let's Talk Potatoes, Irish Potatoes. I'm your host, Sharilla Gordon-Mowat. Now for today's session, we will not only speak about the 3 Irish potato varieties that H&L Agro offers, but every single thing that you need to know to ensure that your potatoes grow. Now, we couldn't be speaking here today about Irish potatoes without first hearing a few words from our Irish potato suppliers over there in Holland. Let's welcome HZPC.
Dear directors, clients of Hardware and Lumber Jamaica, thank you very much for this opportunity to be here with you in this seminar. We're in Holland with HZPC ready to deliver our products, our Irish potatoes. I'm standing here in front of a big pile of Memphis, this excellent new variety, more sustainable, more drought resistant. Come here and I'll show you. Red potato, a nice alternative to the spunta, which you're so used in Jamaica. These new varieties you've been testing in Jamaica, they have yielded excellent results, and we're sure that they can help a lot your farmers to develop their market of Irish potato in Jamaica. You can see we're standing in a nice warehouse, like many we have here in Holland. The product is being bagged, and we're ready to serve you for another successful season. Goodbye.
All right. Almost there, people, almost there. Now, what do you know about Irish potatoes? A few quick facts for you about Irish potatoes. Irish potatoes are one of Jamaica's most popular vegetables. The edible part of the plant is an underground stem called a tuber, not to be confused with a root. Irish potatoes contain 2% protein and 18% starch. So for all the people who are serving meals and you're using potato as the side order for vegetable, that's just additional starch. And last but not least, Irish potatoes are an inexpensive source of carbohydrates, and when prepared properly, provide good amounts of vitamins and minerals. Now, earlier, I would have mentioned the fact that H&L Agro provides 3 varieties of Irish potatoes. They are Spunta, Primabelle, and Memphis. Let's hear from the team in the field about the features and characteristics of each potato.
My name is Kingsley Palmer, and we are currently in Redford, which is located in the parish of Manchester. Today, we are here to highlight the features of Irish potato and specifically spunta. Some of the main characteristics of spunta are: 1, it's a grade A Irish potato. It matures in approximately 84 days. It's high yielding. In fact, it gives about 12 to 14 tubers per plant. It has an extremely long shelf life as compared to other varieties, and it can be grown in just about any soil type condition. Okay, let us focus now on the agronomic characteristics of this particular variety, which, as I said earlier on, is spunta. It has a high resistant in terms of a resistant disease package. And some of the diseases that are, this variety is particularly resistant to are: 1, early blight, late blight, alternaria, scab, nematode, and also powdery mildew.
Yes, let's look at our Memphis variety and its main characteristics and features. Memphis is an early maturing crop. It matures within 66 days. It has a high yielding capability of 9 to 11 tubers per plant. Has a long shelf life. Grow in all soil types and conditions. Memphis has a good resistant disease package against disease such as early blight, late blight, powder mildew, nematodes, wart disease, and other diseases that affect Irish potatoes.
Okay, let's look at some of our Primabel Irish potato variety characteristics. Now, Primabel is an A-grade Irish potato variety that matures in about 84 days. It has high yielding potential, producing about 12 to 14 tubers per plant. It's an extremely good shelf life that makes it ideal for storage. It also grows in all soil type and conditions, which gives it great adaptability to the myriads of soil type found here in Jamaica. As it relates to the variety's characteristics, early tuberization that results in early maturity, as mentioned early on. Good yielding, average of 12 to 14 uniform tuber per plant, very high yielding potential as highlighted early on. Broad adaptation to various environmental conditions, which is a most paramount characteristic for a potato variety. It's suitable for growing in all soil type. Good resistance package, meaning that it offers you, our clients, resistance towards a plethora of diseases that generally affects potato production. Some of these diseases include foliage blight, tuber blight from Alternaria solanae, early blight, Phytophthora infestans, which we all know is a devastating disease or pathogen that can totally wipe out a crop overnight. It also have very good viral resistance. So for your potato viruses, it offer you good resistance to those as well. Now, last but not least, the beauty of this variety as well is that it has very good nematode resistance. So you won't get that sort of damaged tuber that is not aesthetically pleasing. So you'll have the ability to produce potatoes that are quite aesthetics with a smooth outer skin.
Now, before we get into the cooking and the eating of the Irish potatoes, let's first hear about some of the growing practices of the Irish potatoes and how to really care for your Irish potatoes even before and after they go into the field. Help me welcome Mr. Andre Gordon, H&L Agro's Market Development Officer for the Southern region. Welcome, Andre. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Shirley. Thank you for having me.
All right, no problem. Now, Andre, before we even get into the land preparation stage, is there anything that needs to happen before that? So, for example, persons might be wanting to know, what are some of the areas that Irish potatoes are planted in? What are those Irish potato seasons? You want to tell us a little about that?
Yeah, sure. So we have some traditional areas that persons plant Irish potatoes in, and at a particular time of the year. Now, we have some common areas such as Guys Hill, Cascade in Manchester, Darliston, Sparlins, Hounslow, and Christiana. And these are some of the major crop growing areas for Irish potato. Now, the season starts from October up to about February.
Okay.
But most persons, we have bookings will come in October. The planting season will start within November to January for Guys Hill, for Cascade between December to January, for Darliston between November to January, for Sparlins December to January, and Hounslow December to January. And for Christiana, which is of a higher elevation and cooler climate, it's for February to March. So these are some of the growing areas within our region.
All right, so now is a good time for persons to, call their H&L
Yes.
Agro representative, come into the H&L Agro stores and get their Irish potato
And start
seeds.
making those bookings.
Okay, awesome. Now let's talk a little about the land preparation side of things.
Okay. Land preparation for Irish potato production is key and of uttermost importance. Without proper land preparation, what we'll find that there we have a low production. You want high productivity and high yield, so we recommend that land should be plowed or forked at a depth of 12 to 20 inches, which will work out to 30 centimeters or 50 centimeters, or 3 to 4 months prior to the planting of the potato. So it's like a pre-prepared. So you have to actually plow, clear land, plow, and plow at a correct depth. You want the correct depth to be plowed because you want room root for the tubers to grow and expand, absorb moisture, absorb nutrients, and be very productive.
Okay, so they
Good.
need space.
Yes. It's common for now persons to add organic matter to give additional nutrients to the soil. This is during the time of plowing, so you incorporate that into the plow. Or persons can use our 40 plus fertilizer that have organic based fertilizer, which the blend is 4-3-3-3. Also, trenches should be dug 3 to 4 chains per square, or 30 to 40 chains per acre. Now, the trenches are very important, especially in areas where we have heavy rainfall. We want to reduce the amount of water that is on the soil surface, so you have good amount of drainage to take away that amount of the excess water from the soil.
Okay, all right, no problem. What's a furrow?
Furrow. All right, a furrow is like a bed-like structure that basically persons would plant on.
Okay.
So it's a raised bed.
Okay. So for hilly terrain, then that's where furrows come in.
Yes, for hilly terrain, you basically would cut along along the contour of the land. So furrows should be established 2 to 3 feet apart and 3 and 6 inches or 9 inches in depth. So this is where you actually would plant the Irish potatoes. On hilly terrain, you run furrows along the contours. What that does is to reduce the flow of the water, reducing erosion from taking place. On level land, you run furrows north to south so that potatoes can benefit from maximum sunlight. And Irish potato requires sunlight, and it requires for the photosynthesis process to take place, and for the food to be developed within the tubers. You cut furrows few days before planting so as to minimize weed growth.
Okay. All right, no problem. All right, so is it then that I just go into the store and I buy like, a little pack of potato seed? How walk me through the potato seed planting
so
process.
we actually supply potatoes in sacks.
Okay.
And they come
kind of like this one,
yes,
that's right here. Okay.
They come in different sizes. So we have persons with a big seed and sort of small and fine seed.
Okay.
So big seed is basically of a bigger nature. Some persons in planting the big seed, what they do is to cut these into bits.
Okay.
So it will actually give you cover a large amount of land. When you do cut these, it is important for persons to treat them before planting. Okay, you don't want any fungus, any disease that will be transmitted from seed to seed and affect the whole plant and reduce your production. So you treat your seed and allow it to dry. So when you treat these with your fungicide or insecticide, you allow them to dry on an area, and then you can rebag, then you can plant them.
Okay. All right. So what you mentioned, fungicide and insecticide. Is there a special mixture?
Yes. So we would actually recommend a cocktail mix for the treatment, and this cocktail mix will comprise of the fungicide and insecticide. in the form of Redamil and Amistar, which are very a super combination of a fungicide, and NGOs are very powerful insecticide, and these are also systemic chemicals get into the system of a tuber. So when you plant them, it gives you that protection from early out.
Okay, all right, no problem. You know, persons often refer to cultural practices as it relates to you know, different seeds and crops. You want to walk us through some of those for Irish potato?
So cultural practices are these are measures that you put in place to protect your entire crop. So your disease control in Irish potato is of paramount importance. We have a number of diseases that are going to affect the crop at the early stage, in the middle stage, and at the late stage. So it's important for farmers to protect these crops. So a person should do weekly, or so as to weekly prevention, so to prevent potato from being affected by any disease. So it is a routine, I would say, that you have a routine spraying schedule to control any form of disease or pests. You do your regular scouting. It is very important. Scouting is to identify if there's any disease or pest affecting the crop. And we would, when doing so, you identify the proper treatment to control or to mitigate or to prevent the spread of the disease.
So it's important that you treat it with the right thing at the right time.
At the right time.
Okay.
Weed control is also important. We want to reduce the amount of weeds that will compete with your crop during the production period. So we actually reduce the weed by taking out any excess weed by through molding. It's a process called molding, where you will support the plant with additional soil around the roots, and at that time, any additional weed will remove those weeds also.
Okay.
Fertilization is also important, as plants will need adequate and suitable nutrients for development. It's best done on furrows and buried before germination of seeds. So to explain that, you would cut your furrows, you would apply your fertilizer, and then you lightly cover. Then you
Lightly cover with soil?
With soil.
Okay.
Then you put your seeds into those furrows and cover.
Okay.
Now you don't want to put your fertilizer on top of your seeds, and then water will actually damage the seeds, so you put it below. So when the roots start to emerge, it will absorb the nutrients from the soil into the root system, into the shoot system, into the leaf, and have your plant growing in a productive way.
All right, so Andre, interesting stuff, right? But let's talk a little bit more about the weed management and how that really affects farmers and their crops that they're trying to grow, especially Irish potato.
Weed management in Irish potato is very critical, and in any crop production, as a matter of fact. Weeds are very competitive, and they compete with your crop for space, for sunlight, for nutrients, and what that does, it reduces the amount of yield or the quality of your crop. So it is important for us to have a good weed management program. A good weed management program starts from land preparation. So you would apply the correct and the suitable herbicide to reduce or minimize the weed. During your productive period, you also remove weeds that will compete with the crop. And we recommend that we remove the weed at a young stage, not at the mature stage, so it can be regenerated through their the seeds. So at the young stage, remove the weed, give the plant a more competitive advantage over the weeds.
Okay. So you could be fertilizing, you could be really taking care of your potatoes, and they're not growing because your field is overrun by weeds that are soaking up all the lovely nutrients that you're trying to give to your potatoes.
Exactly so.
All right, no problem. All right, so in terms of some of H&L Agro's solutions for weeds and weed management, what are some of those products? Briefly.
Okay. The H&L Agro provides a wide range of herbicides in your weed management program, and one such is your dual goal, which is a pre-emergent and early post herbicide. Now, explain that. The dual goal, it is a super product. What it does, it kills weed seed. As I mentioned before, The land preparation should be done 3 months prior to planting. When you prepare your soil and plow that soil and leave it to weather and come to a fine tilt, then you would apply your dual gold on the surface of the soil. Now, at a high moisture level.
Okay.
Soil will be moist. If it is not moist, we do through natural rainfall, you can use irrigation and apply that herbicide by spraying it in a reverse action. Now, that moisture will actually activate the active ingredient in the herbicide. The weed seed will absorb that active ingredient and kill the weed seed, giving you a more control, like a 3-month control for weeds. The other herbicide we have in our arsenal is our Regulone. It's a post-emergent herbicide. Fusilade also is a post-emergent herbicide, and our Pilarbuzin, which is a very good product, is a post-emergent and a pre-emergent herbicide that should be applied to control your weeds. The Pilarbuzin can be applied during the productive stage of your crop. It will not affect your Irish potato, but it will kill the weeds that are competing with the Irish potato.
With the potato. All right, thank you so much, Andre, for joining us here today. And folks, we really heard a lot, about ensuring that your land is prepared before you plant your Irish potato seeds, and all you need to know about the products and practices to ensure that you keep those pesky weeds at bay. Up next, we're going to be hearing from Mr. Kingsley Palmer, the Market Development Officer for Syngenta in Jamaica, who will be speaking to us about pest management. Mr. Palmer, welcome, and thank you for joining us on Let's Talk Potatoes, Irish potatoes. How you do?
I'm fine, thanks. And how are you?
I'm fine as well.
Wonderful.
All right. So, Mr. Palmer, today we're going to be speaking about pest management. Now, for the viewers, just let us know in the agricultural terms, what is a pest and what are the major pests that affect agricultural crops, especially Irish potatoes in Jamaica?
Okay, a pest is a living organism that is cause adverse reaction to plants when they attack them. So some of the major pests that are involved are the whiteflies, the thrips, mealybugs, caterpillars, weevils, nematodes, snails, scale insects, midge and leafhoppers.
All right, so we see the caterpillar, them just crawl up and down about the place, and them can really hurt your plants.
Yes.
Okay, all right, no problem. Now, what kind of impact do these pests have on crop production in Jamaica?
Well, they affect the quality and the quantity of the crops that, of the economic crops that are to be reaped. And it affects the whole marketability of the crops. The threat to food security. Some of these pests also cause other diseases that are of economic importance to the crops. They reduce the viability of store produce. For example, like a weevil affects your red peas whenever you know.
That's not nice.
Yes, so they affect store crops. They also affect the site of injury. They cause injury to the plants and or to the fruit. So whenever that injury is created, then you have secondary infection. The potato might eventually get rot, and it's not marketable, and it's not good for. And so in the long run, the farmer himself loses because the quality of the produce is being compromised.
Okay, so Kingsley, I go supermarket, right? I reach home with a bag of potato, right? I might not be ready for the potatoes just yet, and I just leave them in my kitchen on my counter, and then eventually I see some things taking place. Like, where do these things really come from?
Well, pests all around, you know. In the
Just
environment.
in your house,
in the
pests
environment,
just
yes.
eat
You
up
have
your potato?
rodents, infestation in your kitchen, and sometimes you take the produce with the pathogen onto the plant. You know, so you transfer it from one point to the other.
All right, no problem. No, I'm sure nobody wants these pests for their potatoes or any other produce, right? So, Mr. Palmer, as a farmer growing Irish potatoes in the field, what are some of the solutions that H&L Agro has to offer to get rid of these pests?
Well, we have chemicals which are both humanly friendly and environmentally friendly, and which we have in our portfolio. So we have product insecticides like your NGO, your Match, Tracer, Actara, Pegasus, Karate, Zian, Silicran, and some BTs. We call them BTs, like the Zentari, Dipel, and the Agri.
Okay,
yes.
so the pronounce them again for me.
Zentari starts an X. Zentari, Agri, and Dipel.
Dipel. All right. Now, in layman's terms, what does the BT stand for?
It's a bacteria, Bacillus thuringiensis. It's really a bacteria. That's the active ingredient. It's really a bacteria, and it's a bacillus. You know, the bacillus have different shape. You have the streptococcus, cocci, and bacilli.
All right, Mr.
So it's a bacillus.
Your gun is some word where me can't pronounce, but I'm sure for the farmers out there, I'm sure you know what these things are. All right, no problem. And of course, all of these products are things that you can find at H&L.
But you have to use it at a specific rate for you to get a proper control. So for example, your NGO is half a teaspoon per gallon of water. The Match is 1 teaspoon per gallon of water. Actara, half a teaspoon. Pegasus, 1 teaspoon. Vertimec, 3 ml, about 2/3 of a teaspoon to a gallon of water. The Karate Zian, same half at 1 teaspoon. Silicon, about 10 ml, which is about equivalent to 2 teaspoons. And the Tracer is 1 to 2 teaspoons per 5 gallons of water. And the BTs, you can use 2 tablespoons per gallon of water.
Okay, and of course, when our farmers come into the agro stores, they do get the expert advice, or when they speak to any of our market development officers or technical sales representative, they do get the technical advice that they need to ensure that they're going through these things properly. All right, so Mr. Palmer, thank you so much for joining us. Okay, viewers, up next on Let's Talk Potatoes, Irish potatoes. We're going to be hearing from Mr. Richard Grant, H&L Agro's Market Development Officer for the Northern Region. All right, so Richard, welcome to Let's Talk Potatoes.
Wonderful, great being here.
Irish potatoes, of course.
Yes, Irish potatoes.
All right, so Richard, you're here with us today to speak about, disease management in Irish potatoes. Now, what are some of the diseases that commonly, or the most common diseases that affect Irish potatoes?
Well, first and foremost, speaking of disease, what we're really referring to here is pathogenic disease. That means disease that is causing from a pathogenic organism, right? Because disease is really a broad term, and there's different things that cause different diseases. So just to highlight the specifics, we really speak into disease that are caused by microbe. And majority of the time, the disease encountered within our potato production is either by bacteria or fungus, so to speak. Potato is highly susceptible to different type of diseases. Some of the common diseases known locally that can be really troublesome is your late blight or your Phytophthora infestans, which is the microbe. It is extremely devastating, and actually there's no warning signal most time when it really attacks your crops.
So just attack your plant
and the attack happens late evening to overnight. So you come back in the morning, look at the farm, and your crop is totally devastated. We also have Alternaria, our early blight. We also have stuff like powdery mildew, fusarium wilt, stem rot. There's a disease called blackleg as well. We have also scabs and scruffs. We also have bacterial issues or bacterial leaf spot that can also develop. But in saying this, it is very much important if I want to pay a lot of attention to disease management, because I mean, if you don't have a good or robust disease management program, I mean, the possibility of failure really heightens.
But that's of course where H&L Agro comes in.
Exactly.
All right, so what are some of the must-have products that farmers need to have? You can't say you're a farmer,
all right,
and you can't say you're a grow potato without having these.
So looking at the spectrum of diseases that actually affect potato production locally, and our selection of products that is highly effective against these. One of those damaging the disease that is widespread is, of course, our phytophthora. And a product that is highly effective against that is our Ridomil, because Ridomil contains metalaxyl that is highly effective against controlling water mole, and phytophthora falls within the water mole group of microbes. But other products that should be a part of your arsenal of chemicals apart from your Ridomil is your Amistar that offers you a wide spectrum range of control to the 4 major fungal groups that generally affects agricultural crops. Also, another potent product that farmers can incorporate as a part of their disease management program is Score. And Score is highly effective in terms of controlling majority of your leaf spot or foliar diseases. Sancozeb and Bravo, these are contact herbicides which give you protective coverage in that it creates a barrier between the plant and the external environment, and to a great degree render that plant impenetrable, right? So fungal spores are microbes that are able to really penetrate and get into the tissue of the plant. The beauty of your Sancozeb and your Bravo is that your active ingredient has what we call multi-site activity. So it targets different sites within the microbes, and as such render them ineffective, and it gives you extremely good protection. So those are just some of the chemicals that we should. Lastly, as well, that is important in the case of a bacterial issue, because a regular fungicide will not give you bacterial control, because bacteria is somewhat different from fungus despite being a microbe. So what we recommend in the control of bacteria is Coarcide, and Coarcide contains your copper hydroxide and is highly effective.
All right, so Richard, that's a lot of information, and of course, so for persons out there, viewers, if you're tuned in, you know, these are must-have products, and of course, you know, as with the pest management solutions, all of the disease management products that you just highlighted, Richard, you can get those from our 5 H&L Agro stores. You can call our market development officers. You can also reach out to any of our technical sales representative, and they will not only ensure that you have these products added to your farming plan, but they will also be on site and provide the necessary technical support and advice to really walk you through the process to ensure that you're really doing the right things, and you're in essence getting the right yield from your crops when you plant.
And I do agree 100%, and farmers need to understand that the Irish potato season, it falls within the cooler time of the year, or the rainy season, and that is when you really need to be getting all of those issues coming about, right?
All right, so thank you so much for joining us, Richard. Happy to have had you. Lovely people, when we return, we're going to be speaking with the lovely Janet Walker-Berry, H&L Agro's technical sales representative for the Northwestern region. Stay tuned. All right, Janet, thank you so much for joining us here today on Let's Talk Potatoes. Irish potatoes. Now we heard, you know, from Richard and Andre and Kingsley just now, you know, about land management, weed management, and disease management. But of course, an important part of ensuring that your Irish potatoes really grow and grow well has to do with the fertilization and the nutrition. So talk to us a little bit more about the fertilization program for Irish potatoes.
Well, thanks for having me, Cheryl. For any crop, including Irish potato, you have to feed the crop, you have to give the crop what it needs in order for it to give you the yield that you require, because farming is a business. So, of course, we have to mention our biostimulants such as our algas. So of course, when
I use algas, guys. Trust me, I use algas on my tomatoes, on my my sweet pepper, and also on my Scotch bonnet pepper. I can take it from me, and me not too grown, you know, things, you know, so tough, but the things are growing. Sorry to cut you, Janet. Continue.
Yes, just to give you some good features, it will allow the plant to have a very good rooting system. It's like it's feeding, so if it's eating more and it's absorbing what it's supposed to have, then the yield is going to increase.
Okay.
Also, if the plant goes through any stressful period, then it allows the plant to recoup and just bounce back. It's like you're taking a vitamin.
But Janet, what could have stressed out a plant?
Just environmental conditions, lack of nutrient, you know, and just changes in general.
Okay. Stop stressing your plants, guys.
Okay, so let me move on now to the nutrients that will be used, you know, for Irish potato. So we fertilize at 2 points. We fertilize at planting, and of course in another 4 to 5 weeks when you're molding the Irish potato. All right, so the fertilizer that we use at planting is going to be 14-28-14, and we use about 6 bags.
Sorry to cut you, Janet, but you said 14, 28, 14. What do each of those numbers represent?
Well, it is just a matter of the nitrogen, the potassium,
Okay.
phosphorus, and the potassium. And of
Okay.
course, you notice that we have a high potash because, of course, we need these for the development of the plant. And we can also use 12, 24, 24. Of course, we give you options because we want it to be flexible and be able to use in the event that something is not available. So you use half a tablespoon, and you drill it and you put it underneath before you place the seed, the potato seed. Now, at 4 to 5 weeks, at molding, which is about 28 to 35 days, you would just do a side dressing. Of course, you use another 6 bags. So that is just to go along the sides. And of course, you don't want the fertilizer to evaporate, so therefore that's why you do a little covering. So it's a side dressing, so we try to cover it. Now, of course, 10 days after transplanting and every 15 days, we use our liquid feed, which is the calcium boron, because that is going to assist the plant again to be sustainable and to develop in the areas and for the foliar, and that is a foliar application, right? So of course,
foliar meaning the leaves?
On the foliage that is to the top.
Okay.
Yes, and you're correct, to the leaves. Now, that rate is going to be 22 milliliters per gallon, and for an entire acre, you'll just need 1 liter.
1 liter?
Yes, because
For
it is
an entire acre?
22 milliliters, right,
Strong.
per gallon. Okay?
Okay.
And of course, remember, it's 1,000 milliliters that make up a liter. So hence, we have to adhere to these rates.
Okay.
Now, the next thing we do is that 10 days after germination and every subsequent 10 days, we use our multi-feed solanaceous, right? So what this will do is that it will assist the plant, you know, to grow and develop the foliar area so that the root can be sustained and you're having better quality at the harvest. Now, the rate for that is 10 grams per gallon. It comes in a nice little sachet. It has a measuring cup. So very much easy for you. And this is, you know, precise nutrition because it is for this family, right? So it's specifically for potatoes and those tubers.
Okay. All right. No problem. So now that you've told us, Janet, about, you know, the fertilizers and the nutrition for the potato, what are some of some general best growing tips that you would give to our viewers for Irish potato?
Well, First of all, you're going to be treating your plants, so you have to protect yourself. And of course, you're going to wear your protective gear, so your goggles or your glasses, your gloves. Of course, you're covered over your clothes. And of course, we're going to have the covering over the water boot and not inside, because you don't want the chemicals to be going in on your feet, right? Remember that when you're opening your chemical, it's the most potent time. So, you know, persons tend to think that you don't have to have on your gears, but it's most dangerous. So at all times, wear your protective gears. Now, when you re-entry and pre-harvest intervals, as outlined on the pesticide labels, they should be strictly adhered to. So if I say to you, you have to have a post-harvest, you know, not 15 days after or 21 days, you cannot decide to do it 7 days. Because then, you know, we're providing for persons who are eating, and we can cause all sorts of problems.
Okay.
And we're going to be using the chemicals that are to be used on plants and not those to be used on animals, whether or not the effect is good, because all of these are tested and proven. So if it's not broken, don't try to fix it.
So we have to give, so they really need to ensure that they give time in between, you know, when they apply the products and when they're harvested for,
Definitely.
for human consumption.
So we're not going to apply the same pesticide with the same active ingredient. So say, for example, I have like a karate and maybe another product with the same active ingredient. You cannot rotate those two. You'll have to choose another product with another active ingredient, because then if you're using the same active ingredient, truly you're not rotating.
Okay, and is it then that the crops would build up a
tolerance? The
pests would
will
build up
develop a tolerance, and then it will not be effective. So, you know, after a while, you find that some products are off the market for a while because it has been abused. So the product is good, do not abuse it, but use it properly.
All right, no problem. Thank you so much for joining us, Janet. Happy to have had you on today's program, you know, and, you know, for the viewers out there, you know, thank you so much for tuning in.
We sincerely hope that you've learned all you need to know to let your Irish potatoes grow. Of course, feel free to contact any of our H&L Agro stores for further details on Irish potato seeds as we get ready for the upcoming season. And of course, happy planting!